here today in Lead Hill, Arkansas. That's part of Boone County, in case you didn't know it. I was born right down the road here in an old rock house right across from the school. This is Doug and Marilyn Richardson. I got that right? Doug and Marilyn Richardson. Have y'all lived here all your life?
He lived here.
I've lived in Lead Hill all my...
You lived in Bergman?
Yeah, he lived
It's kind of like a little boy one time. A guy pulled up and said, "Son, you lived here all your life?" He said, "Not yet."
Not yet. That's true. We've not left this world yet.
Well, Marilyn, we're here. Marilyn, tell us where we are. We're in this house here right on the corner. And what corner of what street, and what is this house where we are?
Well, this is the Kirkwood house. It's on the corner of Cherry and Highway 7 and 14 at the junction. It was moved here from the old town when they put the lake in.
Oh, my.
The house was originally built in 1917 as a gift to my grandmother and her husband, which was William Washington Kirkwood, as he was a big mine, I guess you'd say, big mine owner at zinc, and at that time it was the zinc mine was beginning to play out. So his inheritance was to each of his 3 girls. He would build them a house. One sister, Alice Gregory, she moved to Canada, and she got her money to take there. Carl Alma married Harold Wilson, and they built a house in zinc. And my grandmother, which was Mabel, married George Kirkwood. They built a house in Lead Hill.
This house?
This house was built in Lead Hill. And is out of her inheritance from the Almy mine in zinc.
Now they moved this up here. Where was it in Old Lead Hill?
It was down just across the street from the creek on the corner in the southeast corner of the town.
And they moved it up here in one piece? Or how?
All in one piece with all the furniture in it and everything at the same time.
Mercy. Did you move it, Doug? Was that you?
No,
okay. I thought
before
maybe
my
Doug.
time.
Oh, before your time. Okay. Okay.
No, they came up around by the rodeo arena where it's at now.
Yes.
Where the brush pile and stuff's at. And come up what is now Highway 7. That road was not there. It was just a field.
Yeah.
They brought it up here and set it up here. When they brought it, there was a big mulberry tree right out here where the road's at now. A big, huge mulberry tree. Because us kids played in it after we got up here. But there was no road for that area to come up this way.
Now, were you raised in this house?
Yes.
Okay. How many stories? Is this
It's just two
stories here. Mm-hmm. All right. Is there a basement to the?
Not here. No, there was down there, but there's not one here.
Okay, all right. Pretty well changed a lot of people's lives when they put the lake in down there and moved up here. How many other houses, are there other houses along here? Now, my Aunt Burley lived
Right next
right
door.
over here. Now, did they move that house?
No, that house was not moved. That was built.
Okay.
I think the house that Bernice and Odie had at one time.
Yes, on the other
that
side.
burnt. Yeah, it has burnt since burned.
Yes.
But I think it was moved. The house, the next house down, which was Pearlie Hodges' house, it was moved. Janie Gann's house, or the Yule Gann's house back over here, it was moved. There was one across the road from Pearlie's house that was moved, but it's been torn down
Now, is
since.
Pearlie Mary Ann Gaines' daddy, or?
No.
No.
No, Pearlie was a lady.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, Pearlie, whoever you are there.
That's all right. Right at the moment I can't tell you the history, but I can figure it out. Buck Green had a house moved that was back over here on the northeast corner.
Now, he was sheriff of Boone County at one time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was mayor here when they moved to town. And then Berta Lee Forsey was here the other day, which is Berta Lee Green, which is Buck's daughter. And they were here Saturday, and we were talking about this. And she thinks that Carmen and Albie's house, which is back out on the northwest corner, was moved because of the lake. But it wasn't in the Lead Hill area. It was out here on West Sugarloaf. Mm. And as far as Bert and Laura Tremmell's house over here was moved up here.
Lord Neville.
And Lord Neville's, a big rock house.
Lord Neville Pumphrey?
Yes.
Yes. Now, they brought that house straight up the hill.
Yeah, but they came around the old road, the old Highway 14. They came up it and then come straight up the hill with it. Okay. Berta Lee was telling me that the house that Buck and Esterdale had down in the old town, they went out 14 and came up on the back side of the town where it wasn't quite as steep and brought it around and come up through the middle of this. This up here was all a cornfield at one time, as she had told me.
I understand they almost lost the Pumphrey house pulling it up the hill.
Yes, and she was watching it out the window when it happened. Berta Lee was, and she said it got almost up to the roof and they lost traction and it rolled back down the hill, and sort of cut into a ditch line and what have you. Knocked about 3 or 4 rocks off of us. All it done damage it done. But all this was done in 49 and 50, 51, somewhere along in there.
Yeah. Was my dad had already gone to Harrison when they moved. What's your uncle's name that we were talking about earlier that we filmed?
Ward B.
Ward B and
Dolly.
Yep.
We filmed them out on their farm.
Right.
Now tell me he's your uncle, right? He was your uncle. He passed away. When did he pass away? 2 years ago or a year ago?
Oh, it's been 3 years ago, I think.
Okay, yeah. What? Time gets by, John. I didn't realize we'd been filming all that long. Yeah.
When you come, he was still alive last time I seen you here when we had.
Well, he's sitting out here.
Yeah.
He's sitting out here.
He was sitting out here. That's been 4 years ago. That was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He died. He died the next year, I think.
Yeah. And she's still living on the farm?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about your family again, Doug. You told me out there a minute ago. Tell me about your family. That was your uncle. So you have anybody else as good looking as you are in the family?
No.
No, it's nobody's good looking as you are. I can tell that.
His wife's already gone.
Yeah.
So nobody can deny it.
Yeah, right. I got that. Yeah. So that's a statement you'll stand beside. Okay. All right. We've got it right here on
That's my story,
film.
and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, Doug, tell us now. So you were lived in Bergman.
Yeah.
So you didn't live in Lead Hill.
No.
Okay. But do you remember the old town at all?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, give me a little bit about the old town, some memories you have of the old Lead Hill.
Well, I don't have a whole lot because I was about 5 when we moved up here. So I don't have a whole lot. I remember the day they started moving this house because there was a basement under it, as I said. And the dollies had to come across that hole. And we kept thinking, and my grandfather and Dad had a store building down on the corner. He had a milling place and a grocery store and what have you down the corner. So all the ladies and spectators were down there in that building watching them bring this off of the foundation. And we would run out, we'd go look a while, and then we'd think it was going to fall in. They just inched along, just real slow.
So the dollies reached past the basement. So
they put timbers under it and rolled them across it.
Okay.
And so we kept thinking that thing was going to fall in that basement. And us kids was having a good time, But we'd run out and look at it every once in a while. And then that's about all I can remember about moving the house.
Right.
But the house and the store was right across from the creek. The cotton gins and everything were over next to the road. To the creek, I'm sorry. And so that, and then on down the street was your businesses and what have you, on down to the north of the house.
Now, you and Doug, have y'all lived in Lead Hill?
For a brief time.
Yep.
Maybe 6 months to a year.
You just didn't want to leave the big city of Bergman, did you? Come out here to this little hick
Well,
town.
I didn't want to leave the country. Come to town.
Do you have a farm out at Bergman?
Yeah. We have his dad's place now.
Oh, that's where your dad was?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were born and raised over here toward Carrollton, between here and Highway 14 and 280. On past there just a little ways. Where Jackie Joe lives. Where Ward lives.
Yes.
Okay, that was the old farm.
Yeah.
That was the Richardson farm.
Okay.
And Ward was there. And then they lived on a place called the Rice Place. And then they moved out to Bergman.
Ward told me that the barn there was over 100 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So that's your home place.
Well, my dad's home place.
Your dad's home place. Okay. All right.
Doug never lived there.
Okay.
He lived at Bergman all his life.
They moved out there in 42. I was born in 43.
Even up here, this part of Lead Hill or down there, either one, a character. Somebody who just, somebody that stands out in your mind. Other than Doug Richardson. But somebody stands out in your mind, a character, the character here, stands out in your mind. Somebody in Lead Hill.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. Oh. Well, the only one, this is going to sound crazy. The one that stands out in my mind would be, I'll be Pruitt. In the Pruitt store.
In the store.
were in the old town. They had moved up here and had their store up here. And it was a meeting place for everybody, I guess, because at that time there wasn't anything up here to speak of once they got moved up here.
Right.
And you could go in there, you could get you a sandwich, you could get you a drink, you could get groceries or whatever. But all feeds, yeah, I mean, they sold it all. Albie had a milk route. He hauled milk. And he's the only well, outside of Dad probably, he was the only person I ever saw that could pick up two cans of milk in each arm and put them up in a truck.
Well,
And he'd carry them up out of a hollow where it was a spring fed, where they was
now,
keeping
your dad's first name before we
George.
George Kirkwood. I got you. Okay. George Kirkwood. All right, I'm going to make sure we get that on film because we talked about the Kirkwoods, and I want to make sure that I got that. Aubrey Pruitt's store when I was a kid, that year before last.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I would go get knee-high orange, new grape, did have RC,
Yeah.
RC Cola. What's some of the others they had? That's the main thing.
Grape knee-high, you named that
Yeah,
one.
grape.
Yeah, you named that one.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper is probably the next popular one.
Yeah.
But
And then they had the ice cream.
they had ice cream.
Now, did they have, I've forgotten when this all came in, but did they have the water bubbling in there or just ice in the box?
Well, they probably down in the old town they had the ice in the box, I'm assuming, because I don't remember that one.
But when they got real modern.
They got modern, they had a soda fountain and everything up
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember opening up the lid.
Yeah.
And you hear all the bubbling.
Water.
And it kept moving that water. And
To
it
keep
kept
it
all
calm.
this. And of course, back then it's a pop.
Yeah, it was
We
soda
pop.
pop.
Yeah, soda pop. And give me a pop, and I want soda. What kind of pop you want? And I remember we talked to our family and said, let's go down and get in the cart and a pop. You know, of course, you say pop to kids now, they don't have any idea what you're talking about.
No, they have no clue.
What are some colloquialisms?
Oh,
Some
God.
colloquialisms that came out of Lead Hill. Now, my mom and dad, here are some of my dad. He had just out there raring in the fountain.
Yeah.
Now, what does raring in the fountain mean, though?
Having a fit.
He's having a fit. How about this one? She's in there just in the kitchen, just messing and a gumming.
Yeah, making a big mess.
Making a big mess in the kitchen.
She's probably cooking dinner.
If somebody was real stingy, he was tighter than Dick's hat's band. I don't know who Dick was, but he must have been tight, and the hat band was probably tight.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And if something was real good, boy, that's a chawed rosin.
Now that one I hadn't heard.
Chawed rosin would be like the
Pine
stuff.
tar.
Yeah, right. That came off the trees.
Well, I have to say, when we moved up here, the closeness of the people, because we were up here by ourselves, so everybody had to rely on everybody else for whatever needs that we had. You didn't go to town very often. You might have went once a week if you were lucky. The roads were dirt, so you didn't go very often. People that impacted you, I'll have to say Edna Magnus was probably one of them because she was a little bitty lady. She wrote the news articles for the Harrison Daily Times, and she would go around to everybody's house wanting the news that she could get to put in the newspaper.
Yeah. Edna Magnus.
Edna Magnus. That was Bill and Clyde's mother. And she was the town reporter, I guess you'd call it. She reported on everything that went on in town. So if you could go back and find all of her articles that she wrote for the newspaper, you might learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That would be one. As far as impacting my life, I don't know that I can say there was any one person. It was just a combination of all the people that we were associated with, that we encountered on a daily basis.
You know, I'm a preacher. I've been preaching for about 50 years. And one thing I have taught when I preach is the major foundation of any relationship is need. Mm-hmm. And what you just said, when you came up here, folks on top of this hill really needed one another. Mm-hmm. And so what we've lost today in our culture is people don't need anybody, they say.
They don't think.
They don't think they need anybody. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the greater the need, the greater the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you're saying when you came up here, the need was great.
Yeah, and it possibly was that great down there, but like I said, I was only 5 when we moved up here, so I don't have any recollection of things before that time, other than 1 or 2 things. But you have to know your neighbors. I mean, doors are not locked, or weren't locked. We do lock them nowadays because you got a lot more people here now. But back then, you could come and go in anybody's house and wouldn't think nothing about it. And they wouldn't, you didn't invade their privacy or anything, but you were welcome in their home at any time.
Yeah. You remember when they started moving the cemetery?
Yeah. They brought people in to do that. We started opening graves, taking things out, putting them in boxes and stuff to move them to the new cemetery. Ordinary day, it was just digging up whatever they could find, putting it in a box and moving it. They came across one that was petrified. The body itself was petrified. The torso part of the body was petrified.
Hadn't changed at all?
Well, it had changed, but it was just solid. It wasn't, there was nothing there, but it was just a solid form in the grave. They left it, it was a big tourist attraction, I guess you'd call it, for a while. They had to leave it till they could get a box built big enough to put it in.
Do you know who it was?
Yeah, you would ask me that, wouldn't you? Yes, I know who it is, but I can't tell you right at the moment. It was a Miller, I think. I can look it up.
A lady or a man?
It was a lady.
Yeah.
She was a big lady, a pretty good sized lady. And everybody had to come and see this petrified body. That was one. There was another one that had a casket that had a glass case in it. I don't remember seeing it. It had a glass window in the top of it.
Yes.
And the body was perfect. It was still visible, but somebody broke the glass.
And that was all over then.
With the dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they went to move it, they broke it. I don't know who that one was, but that was one thing. My first year at school, they were in the process of building the school that's down here now. They didn't have them finished when I started school. So we went the first 6 months, or first semester, I guess it was, in the Christian church, the old Christian church, not what one's there now, but the old Christian church. They put a curtain down the middle. The first grade was on this side. The 6th grade was over here on this side. And we stayed there till they got the school completed, and then we finally moved on up to the school later that year. I don't know how many months we was there, but it wasn't there over 2 months probably, maybe 3 at the most.
Now, Marilyn, you said the first grade's on one side and the 6th grade's on the other.
They put a sheet down the middle of the church, in the pews, between the pews.
I got you. Where are all the other grades?
Most of them were already in the school because they had a lot of it
in the new school.
In the new school or the old school. There was one or the other, but they were in the process of moving to the new school. So a lot of the classrooms were already done, but it just so happened the grade school wasn't done. Some of them were out. They went to different churches. They had the classes scattered in different places. But that's where I was at, was in the Christian church, and the 6th grade was in the
Christian church down here across the road from the new school.
Yeah. The old building.
Yeah, across from the Rock House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faced the other direction at that time.
Yeah. What would you say to the new generation coming after us that you have learned in your life you want to pass on?
I guess, to be honest, be truthful, work hard at whatever you do. Don't go into a job expecting something at it. Go into a job expecting what you can do for it and how well you can perform that job. The love of your family, love of your God, your country. These things we are losing in this day and time. The respect of other people we're losing.
That's right.
So these are things I would like to see come back. The morality. What would any local person like to see? They'd like to see more compassion, more friendliness toward other people. Hopefully, we've tried to inspire that into some of our young people or families and what have you. But sometimes it don't take, sometimes it does. But they need to realize that how they treat other people is what's going to make a difference in this world.
What you just said can be summed up in really one word, and that's integrity. What we believe about ourselves tells what we believe about God. If we don't believe in God, then we don't believe we're worthwhile. And if we don't believe in ourselves and love ourselves and respect ourselves, we're not going to respect other people in our life. So it comes around to our relationship with our God, as Marilyn has said. And here we are today in Lead Hill, Arkansas, with Doug, that's the man with a hat on, Doug, Richardson, and Marilyn, and thank you all so much for the time we spent. I've had fun. You had fun, Doug?
Yes, sir.
I have. It's been a good time.
Yeah.
And Marilyn, you've done real well, and
Well,
I'm proud
thank
of you. And it's a great time. Appreciate John and Carolyn Davidson being here today. And we just thank you for watching the video. May God work in your life and bless your life.